Chris Lee and Blake Lovell of Southeastern 14 here to talk about Oklahoma's football schedule for 2024. We're doing this the morning after the schedules have been released in 2023. And Blake, let's start by welcoming Oklahoma fans to the SEC and to our channel. We cover baseball, basketball, and football. And let me start here. We did in our overview video, I said, let's select the ticket scalper special. Like if you woke up this morning, you're a ticket scalper in a particular city, who's the happiest? Because these fan bases are known to travel. You could be a lot worse than a ticket scalper in Norman, Oklahoma this morning, because here's your home slate. Oklahoma, Texas, although that's in Dallas. So I guess that's not a home game. Got Alabama and Tennessee coming to town. Those fan bases are passionate, excited, and should be good for next year. And South Carolina, which has done some good things under Frank Beamer. So those should be four very interesting home games, although one of them, again, in Dallas for the Sooners to start things off in the SEC.
Yep, we're going to be fascinated to see, kind of where Oklahoma and Texas wound up in terms of who they would get, and kind of with the heavyweights of the SEC. But as we've said, there's a lot of heavyweights in the SEC, and so to get Alabama and Tennessee both at home, I think was a nice thing to have. And of course, you've got the usual game against Texas. So I think just from that standpoint, now again, you got Alabama, Tennessee, Texas, all games that technically, not away from home, counting the Texas game, of course, in Dallas. But when you look at that road slate, still having a team like LSU on there, defending SEC West champs as we do this in June of 23, and Auburn, on the road, which we fully expect to take a big step forward with Hugh Freeze. And then you got to go to Ole Miss, right? Like Lane Kiffin's he's not going anywhere. Well, he's not going anywhere in terms of the team. You might want to he may eventually take another job somewhere, but yeah. So I think it's Oklahoma has a very sort of interesting slate, and it is again to get Alabama, Tennessee, LSU. Yeah, I mean, all on the schedule, right? I mean, those were the three best teams in the SEC last season, and minus Georgia, which again, I feel like Georgia is kind of a given at this point. So at least for Oklahoma, you don't get Georgia on the schedule. Let's put it that way. So.
Yeah, I think I'd be a little upset that I only get 3 games in the SEC in my building the first year if I'm Oklahoma. Couldn't blame them for that. You mentioned the road trips. LSU, we think, is probably one of the 3 teams that, based on NIL situation, all kinds of things, is poised to be at the top of the SEC. For a bit, Alabama and Georgia would be the other one. Tennessee would be the one that's kind of right there. And, so that's something to consider. You get a couple of the heavyweights on your schedule for sure. Texas has certainly been on the upswing with Steve Sarkisian as we do this in June of 2023. Auburn under Hugh Freeze, I think year 2, that one on the road. That program should be in much better shape. Ole Miss is a team that really rebuilds from the portal. So I can't tell you what Ole Miss's roster in 2024 is going to look like, but I can tell you that based on history, Lane Kiffin is going to go out and get a bunch of high-profile transfers who will be poised to help right away. I think you can probably bank on that as something that will happen. And then Missouri, that's a program in an interesting spot here in June. There was a program that in 2022 was competitive in darn near every game, played Georgia better than anyone played Georgia all year, but can't really get out of that 6-win, 7-win range, it seems like, under Eli Drinkwitz. So I think that'll be interesting to see that situation heading into 24, how happy Missouri fans are or not with Eli Drinkwitz and the direction of that program at that point. But, yeah, I think all these games – and we kind of overlook South Carolina. That's a team under Shane Beamer that is, I think, overachieved in most people's eyes the last 2 years. I'll be very interested to see when that South Carolina game is scheduled, because Carolina has played much better ball the last third of the year than it has the other 2/3.
Yeah, I mean, I think the LSU game is the one I look, because I mean, LSU and Oklahoma had some interesting games before, have they not? Obviously, I'm joking there, because they certainly have, in terms of looking back at some of the games they played bowl wise over the years. And yeah, I mean, it's just like you said, I think South Carolina, Missouri are interesting because it feels like South Carolina is moving forward. You talked about it's hard to know exactly maybe what Missouri is going to be a year from now. That will likely depend on how things go this season, perhaps. But you do feel like South Carolina is a program on the way up. The same about Tennessee now. We saw Tennessee take the big jump forward last year. So it does feel like Oklahoma's getting a group of teams here that are heading, up versus, programs that maybe are moving in the wrong direction. I think you could say that about the majority of their schedule, right? Look, the Texas game, which we know Oklahoma fans care a little bit about. Um, where is Texas? Are they fully back? Are they officially back? Like, I think that's, it's always going to be a huge game, but just seeing how these two teams transition into these schedules, which, as we know, are 1 year schedules at this point, but we'll see how things look in 2025. But for now, I wouldn't call this one of the easiest schedules by any means for Oklahoma
No,
when you
oh
compare
no.
it to the other 13 teams. I wouldn't put it in that category. So
Yeah, I'm with you. That is a
it's one of the
that's
toughest,
kind
I
of
think.
that's
I
not the
really,
friendliest welcome to the
yeah,
SEC. I think that's a good way to put it.
yeah, it's one of the toughest because I think, like I said, Alabama, Tennessee, Texas, LSU. They're all, you would think, college football playoff type teams. And then you've got an Auburn team that could be surging. You've got South Carolina who could be, like I said, if they build off of what they did at the end of last season, this season, and then go into 2024. Ole Miss, I made the joke, Kiffin's not going anywhere. Ole Miss not going anywhere as long as Kiffin's there. Like, they're not going to be a bad team. And then you've got Missouri, but yeah, I would say this has to be one of the tougher schedules that we see on this 2024 slate.
Yeah, and back to that Texas game in Dallas, which obviously is not in Norman where OU is. Uh, OU not the only school in that category for 2024. Georgia has only got 3 true home games. That Florida game always played in Jacksonville, and then Arkansas and Texas A&M has played in Arlington every year. So the Aggies in that same boat where only 3 games in their home stadium on campus. That'd be LSU, Missouri, Texas, and Georgia's are Auburn, Mississippi State, and Tennessee. So Oklahoma, I know that game's played in Dallas. I'm just saying that the OU is not the only team in that boat of only having 3 games in the SEC on its campus.
Yeah, I think as of now, if you look outside the SEC schedule, Oklahoma, I'm looking at their schedule on FBS schedules. All I see is Temple and Tulane, both in Norman. So, if you're looking at the non-conference portion, those are only 2 games I see on there as of right now. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, I think, to see how the Sooners going to transition into the SEC and their final year this season in the Big 12, but yeah, will not be an easy start, I think, for that team, just given the schedules they have. And yeah, I would probably rank it among the toughest just on paper heading into next season. So
Yeah, again, Oklahoma fans, welcome to our channel. If you're just discovering us, we were founded to, and we're pretty new. We've been around less than 2 years on YouTube, and Blake and I have watched a lot of SEC games over the decades. Football, baseball, basketball, that is what we cover here, those 3 sports, men's basketball specifically. And so the goal here is to give you, if you're looking for a one-stop place to follow the SEC in those 3 sports on a near daily basis, that's what we do here at the channel. We try to do it intelligently and not just hot takes. We are not hot take people here. We try to do our homework. We don't get everything right, but we give it our best shot. So the best way to catch our content, hit the subscribe button. If you hit the like button, that helps our analytics. And of course, tell a friend if you like our channel. For Blake Lovell, I'm Chris Lee. We are Southeastern 14. We'll see you again soon with more SEC